All right, guys, welcome back to the Strike Twice Running podcast. I'm with Trey and Ray. We're here for St. Patrick's Day part two of possibly three, maybe. We might just do a three-part series. Cheers. Ray's
Cheers.
tea again, I'm sure of it.
Nope, just water tonight.
Just water. Um,
Yeah, I'm boring.
but we had a great St. Patrick's Day weekend in Anaconda. I got to see Ray. Trey's going to make it to Montana this weekend, so we just missed each other, but we're going to talk about our St. Patrick's Day experience so far and what's to come still, because St. Patrick's Day is like a week to 10-day celebration in Montana. So we're looking forward to that. As you can see, fellas, I got a little sun today. I'm a little rosy in the cheeks. It is feels like it's spring in North Dakota finally. So the track is thawed out, and it was like 50 degrees today. So I'm happy with that. The sun is still out, and it's 6 o'clock. Things are looking more like spring every day. So I'm pretty excited about that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that so it's on that topic after the race on Saturday. So I mean, circle back. I'm a kind of a big skier. You two know that, but this year's just been kind of bad conditions with skiing and whatnot. So after the race, it all it took was just that race and that weather for my mind just to be like, "Yep, ski season's over." Like I am so ready to just be running outside in like nice weather in sunny days. And
Yeah. I feel like it's so hard too because you don't get ski season's never long enough, but at the end you're like, this is taking forever to get to that nice point. And then
yeah.
summer's a mixed bag. Last year was like 65 to 70 degrees and kind of partly cloudy and rainy like the whole summer, which was super great because nobody was on the lake. We had the lake to ourselves most of the time, but you're kind of like, it's a little chilly out there. So we were in wetsuits most of the season, but there is that weird gap where you're like, your mind shifts and you're like, okay, that season's dead to me. Don't talk to me for another 7 months. Like, this is
Yeah,
what I'm doing now. But it takes like 3 weeks to get there, it seems like. So,
it's the same thing for me. Like I hate the month of April most of the time because it's just like I'm so over snow for the most part. But like no, there's still snow on the trails. Like you can't get anywhere. And maybe till like May you can get like a few miles up. So like April is just like I'm so antsy. I just want to run on a trail. I can't. And then it like flips every like October. I want the snow to come and I want to ski. And like I just go through this really weird like it's like 2 months out of the year where I'm just temperamental, I guess, when it comes to what I want to do.
yeah. Yeah, I had I guess, talking about recent running is we're gonna dive into the big recap. And I'm super stoked to hear about it. It's we'll do our warm-up lap first, but I figured if we're gonna dive into the recap after that, I'll get my running story out of the way real quick and then I'll let you guys take over and I'm so stoked to hear about it. The race weekend is always like it's such a party. It's so fun. Everybody, it's just kind of the energy when you're there, that it's awesome. So, um, but today, so this was my first full week of training. I hit uh 5 of the 7 days this week. And I was like, whoa, slow down, easy. But no, it was cool. Like just it was kind of funny. Like I was saying, I'm trying to like just take it easy a little bit and like go no watch or just kind of just be out and just enjoy it. And there was a lot of really good stuff. But today, so it's a regular week, but my run today was I just wanted to try a new route. I haven't done a lot of running around the area, so I'm just going in all different directions. And I got about a mile into this run today and was kind of just doing this loop and there's just cones out at the end of somebody's driveway and people were walking out with boxes full of stuff. I'm like, what's going on there? They're like, we got an estate sale going. So I just like I did end up having the watch on, so I just stopped the watch. I ended up walking through this whole house, dude. I was in the estate sale. I was like, I lost track of time. I was probably in there for like 30 minutes, and I was walking around this whole house, and and I'm like in the garage. This guy's like got a bunch of woodworking stuff, and I think they were just kind of downsizing and moving to kind of a retirement facility or something, and didn't want to deal with the house and stuff. So, um, but I ended up like going through the whole house, like just checking everything out, and like uh the basement. He turned one of the rooms into the basement. Must have been really into photography, but he had a dark room, so all like to do his own like developing all his own photos and stuff, and uh, so it was really cool, like to just get to see a piece of that, a piece of somebody's life, like that, and just kind of downsizing, and uh, it was just crazy. It was like room after room, and then in the garage, and then they were like, "Oh, we got another building behind the garage," and I was like, I'm walking through, and pretty soon I looked down and I saw my running shoes, and I was like, "Oh shit, I'm on a run right now." And I just turned around, I turned around and walked out the front door. They're like, "Thank you," and I was like, "Yeah, thanks." And I just hit the watch and started running down the driveway. So I wouldn't say it was the most productive run I've ever had, but it was a shitload of fun. So if every run ended with an estate sale, I think I'd be running all the time.
That's great. Great motivation.
Yeah, that's you just plan your route for the all the people having garage sales and estate sales, and that's where you take your little breaks.
Hmm.
That's awesome. I love that. And that is the best part about being a non-collegiate runner anymore is we can do that now. We used to have to avoid stoplights and any interruptions during hard workouts and now we're like, "Oh, a red light? Okay, sick. We're gonna stop here and take a little break, stretch, and hit the estate sale." So that's awesome. Uh, let's get right into our warm-up lap. Guys, I got an update on the Kate Carter situation. She was our marathon cheater, um,
Oh yeah.
and it's finally kind of revealed what the governing body is um, set on it. So the governing body here is the England Athletics. I don't know if that's similar to like the IAAF or the Diamond League rules, or I don't know what exactly they're equivalent to in the United States, but essentially they did a 5 week long investigation of Kate Carter and everything that the marathon sleuthing guy Derek Murphy was looking into. And just to recap, um, she was accused of faking multiple race results. It wasn't just the London half marathon; it was apparently a couple different races. But there was a missing split. Her bib was folded. She claimed her watch died when it obviously didn't. There was pictures of her watch being on. Um, so there was all that information. It was a 5 week long investigation, and basically what they said was Kate Carter was cleared by England Athletics of any intention to deceive. And what that means is there was no intention to deceive and no attempt to benefit from the results that were potentially manipulated. And here's a quote from England Athletics. They received the information related to the alleged cheating by um, an EA, so an England Athletics licensed athlete. So I would assume it's similar to the Diamond League, probably. Um, she was licensed athlete in 2 events during 2023. There was a thorough investigation, and the results of which have found that there was no intention to deceive and no attempt to benefit from the results, as I said. Neither of these incidents meet the threshold for serious misconduct. So essentially, it still could have happened, but there wasn't enough evidence to really make it jump into that serious category of misconduct. So essentially, what they says is the governing body says that it's really there's not enough evidence, so she's cleared. So this is good news for her, good news for her running career and um, her her stature, her position in as a runner's world editor. So I think she's probably taking a huge sigh of relief as things are looking up for her. But definitely kind of an interesting story. I'm glad we finally got a little bit of closure on that. I'm sure she's definitely relieved to hear that from England Athletics.
Yeah, it's always, I don't know. I mean, we were kind of, I think when we left off, we were just saying there's a lot more questions than answers. And it sounds like they kind of just had the same kind of the same approach to it of like, yeah, I mean, that's a good point, and those are good photos, and that's a good question, and that's, but we have no way to disprove what she's saying either, and so, I mean, yeah, that's good for, good for her, and hopefully for the world of running that it was, not intentional, and she was cleared, and it was a good thing, and like you said, I'm sure she is definitely a big sigh of relief, but it also it's got to be hard for her too in some sense when you think about, um there might even be that mentality of like, it's always good to be, not on the chopping block anymore, and that's in that sense, but it would feel a lot better to be cleared by saying like it was all disproved rather than we didn't have enough evidence to prove it, so it's like, so that's kind of, I'm sure that's something that she's continuing to battle with, and I would be interested to see, how that progresses. Just like we kind of talked about in this situation in particular, how this progressed through, and it does seem like they kind of just got to that point where it was like, well, we're not going to be able to move anywhere with this, so let's kind of close this up. I don't know, but yeah, that's, I mean, I'm happy that it's done and it's over with, and I hope that it's a, a good thing moving forward and stuff that they pay more attention to, um if that split was missing because something malfunctioned, if somebody that had won that race, had to forfeit prize money because one of their splits was, you know what I mean? If something like that happened, now obviously a lot of times they'll have, for those bigger races, a camera car or something that follows that lead group, and you wouldn't really have to stress about it too much. But it is one of those things where when technology malfunctions and there's no way to misprove it, or disprove it, it's kind of, you're kind of just at the mercy of whoever wants to go for it. So, yeah, I hope I would say just at the end of all of it that it just leads to a little bit more diligence and a little bit more, kind of looking into some of that stuff. So, but I'm happy that's done with.
Yeah, I was gonna say you kind of said at the end there, but it's still odd that there's multiple races that she's been in where she's allegedly, cheated, which for all we know, that could just be someone like who knows, like out of jealousy saying something. But in the future, maybe this would be kind of like, yeah, don't even like pretend to like have an idea of cheating in the future. You have so much attention from this like article, like look at where, three people, well, I was gonna say Montana, but I didn't realize no. One's in Montana. But you know, so far away, we're talking about it. That would suck to have so many people aware of a situation like that, true or false. So yeah, I mean, definitely, I'm glad that I would be a huge sigh of relief if like I was involved in something like that, like just move on, continue with life. But odd, still very odd.
Yeah.
I said it was over, but it's like it's a little bit of closure, but not as much. The more we talk about it, again, I feel like I still have more now. All of a sudden, um, I like how you mentioned it's kind of a double-edged sword. Like she's kind of cleared, but it's also like there just wasn't enough to prove that
Mhm.
there's serious misconduct. So there was misconduct. Is that basically what they're saying? Is that there was some misconduct? But like
Right.
any amount of misconduct in a race is can be like pretty significant. So I wish I knew what their threshold was for serious misconduct because any sort of course cutting or bib manipulation even like all that to me is kind of serious. So I don't know what their standards are for serious misconduct. Like to me, everything the guy found was serious misconduct, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I don't think there's really like racing is so simple. There's really nothing, like there's so few elements to it that it's like I'm pretty sure we could count all these as like major misconduct because pretty much anything that you do to alter any form of your race is, in my opinion, a form of misconduct because at the end of the day, it's just like one foot in front of the other. Like there's nothing else you can do, like it's just crazy. But yeah, I think it's leaving me with more questions than answers. But that's why I kind of was like, I'm happy we're done with it. We would just dive into it. And then somebody's halfway across the world going, who are these assholes? Like, do you
Yeah.
even know what's going on right now? So um, the internet doesn't lie. We're just reading the internet. All right. Um, but I guess to get away from things we can be proved wrong on, we can jump. I'm super stoked. I'm really stoked to hear and kind of transition into the race recap and hear from you guys. Like I said, I wanted to get my estate sale running story out of the way so we could hear about the St. Patty's Day race. And I want to hear all about it, and I'll throw that over to you guys, and you guys can just run away with it. And I'm stoked. I can't wait.
Well, for one, we didn't cheat. There,
No, no cheating at all.
there was no bib manipulation. There was no course cutting. There was no missing splits. There was only one split, the end. It wasn't missing. So we're already off to a better start than Kate Carter in her half marathon. But I mean, Ray, go ahead.
Well, I would have loved if I could have manipulated it. So Trey, yeah, I had a terrible bib number.
I saw the
Absolutely.
picture. I saw
Yeah,
the picture. Yeah.
I Friday, honestly, like to a point, I was a little nervous because it's not like I'm crazy superstitious, but to everyone
You're,
who's
you're
not, I mean, I'll show it, but it's not pretty. But yeah, so I got that Friday night, picked up, my bib. I picked up Hunter's soon. First sec was like, oh, I'm gonna switch it out. Hunter's gonna get mine. I would have won. Yeah, yeah. Um, and then on top of that, so I wake up Saturday. Yeah, wake up Saturday. My shoes destroyed my one good pair of running shoes that I had left for the zeros. So the only pair of shoes I had were my Hokas that I fractured my ankle in, like a year and a half ago. So I was just genuinely like, I woke up at 4 a.m. Partly just because I just am that way before races. I was telling Hunter that the day of, like I just get excited. But at the same time, I'm like, oh my gosh. It's just I feel like there's so many omens, so like that's just not gonna be good. And that's fine. It was great. I didn't really even think about it until I started, like as soon as I started running, it was gone. But it was a little nerve-wracking for those how many hours that is. 6 hours I was out awake at that time.
So you're pinning the bib on. You're like slowly tying these hokas, and your hands are just shaking, and you're like, "This is
Yeah.
the worst
I
fucking
put
thing."
I had both ankles braced. Just like, like I'm like, I don't know, I'll step on a pine cone because I've done that before and twisted my ankles. I it's just like this, yeah, I just, we did a little jog before the race, the two of us, but even at my house, I was just like running in laps in my house just to see like I was way in my head over it. It was fine. It was good. But
Yeah,
it wasn't a good start for like, you know, a race. I was
But after that went well, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was good. No, I mean for me, so I like I said last week, I had, haven't really been running a whole string of everything. So that was like the race itself was the third run I've done since January. So I was pleased with like what I end up with, Obviously the entire time I was just like, "Oh, I wish I was faster right now." And I saw this like Hunter could probably talk about more, but there's this 11-year-old that just was absolutely amazing. And I was a little irked that I was getting beat by 11-year-old the entire time. But then I told myself there's other, 30 plus year olds getting beat by 11-year-olds. So I'm not the only one. But yeah, beautiful, beautiful weather. We got there. It was actually kind of cold at first, but then like basically right when the gun went off, at 11, it was just sun came out. I don't even know what the weather was, but calm, probably like 40. And for me, it just kind of went, smoothly from there for how many, anxious thoughts I brought with myself all day long.
Yeah, basically I saw Ray from across the street, and I could see his mind racing already, and he's like, "Oh, I got a bad bib number. I'm wearing Hokas. I got two ankle braces on." I was
Yeah.
I was getting nervous for Ray, and so and I've been going to this race for quite a few years. This is probably my um, fourth time going, probably third or fourth time going, and I always think to myself, it's just a fun run in Anaconda, Montana, but it's not. It's much more than that because for one, it is such a big deal to the Anaconda community. You know, St. Patrick's Day, yes, it's an excuse to drink and party and all this, but it is such an important time in the spring for Montana. I don't know if it's an opportunity for everybody to kick spring fever and finally get out and be with people and be outdoors, but it's a very big deal in that area, and there's a lot of people that put that race on their calendars every single year. And you have people like Ray Hunt, who's a Whitehall alum, and you have Ozzie Rosenleaf, who went to Butte, and he is there every year running the 10K. Like, and of course we have the Dickinson State tradition, which we'll talk about in a little bit, but it is a much bigger deal than I've realized, and I've really kind of put that into perspective this year. It's not really just a fun run; it's a big deal, and so I'm proud to be part of that and part of the story for the Anaconda run. But yeah, and I kept telling myself it's just a fun run, like no big deal. But you know, the nerves kick in, and any opportunity to race is such a blessing. And partway through the race, I was running right next to the 11-year-old. I think his name was Bentley. He's from Butte. I mean, he is going to be a stud, and he already is.
Yeah.
He's like 3 feet tall, but just ran the lights out of that race. But anyways, I was running right next to him at about, I don't know, the first mile, and I kind of thought to myself, man, this kid would really just it would be awesome for this kid to win this race and this and that. And people can judge me. I'm sure I'm going to get some hate for this, but at the end of the day, it was a race. It was a competition, and so I did my thing. I raced, and so I had that thought of, should I beat this kid? Should I not? Should I let him win because he's a good kid? Um, but I don't know if that teaches him anything, because if people just hand him races, that doesn't teach him anything either. But um, I people probably have really mixed feedback on that. But anyways, I just raced it like I normally would, and but he was such a talented kid. It was awesome to race against him. I got to run with Ray for the first time. It's the first time we've raced together and really got a solid run in together. So that was awesome. And like I said, get back with Ozzie Rosenleaf, which we'll probably have him on the podcast. He is such a dedicated runner. He's been part of that race forever, and I think he's got kind of a little Butte running club going over there. So he's just been one of the staples of my running career, and I got to be with Mike Reel and his family. He was kind of my first coach as a young athlete, so I got to spend time with him and his family, which was great. Um, but amazing conditions. That was the warmest I've ever seen that race. So I don't think I've ever ran that race in shorts until this year, without leggings or something like that. So, like Ray said, it was absolutely perfect. I got to hang out with some people that I don't get to see very often. I was hanging out with Trey's mom, and we were sending him lots of pictures and making him jealous and telling
Yeah.
him here. But great day. I was so happy to be there, and Trey, you definitely missed out.
Yeah, I kept getting pictures all day and was like, as much as I was like, I was super jealous. Like, absolutely, I definitely wanted to be there, but I was just so happy that it was like, dude, another like fantastic race. Like, I got to see like a great video. I have a really good friend that she goes and walks it every year, and I mean, I say friend, they're family, like, and you know, Dotsy, and so, congrats, Dotsy. Dotsy just got married. Woohoo! So Dotsy was walking. You know, she goes and walks it every year, and she put up a video or when they were kind of making the turn there to go over the bridge to hit the trail at the park. So when you kind of take that first big turn, like just a quarter mile in over the bridge, and it was like, dude, it was like 10, 12, 15 people wide. That whole like 2.5, 3 block stretch. I mean, it looked like there was tons of people. Like, um, you know, and that just like I was just so pumped. I love like when we have a huge turnout and the weather's good and the you know it just people love it, man. And I really do like that that start and finish line there, how they block off that entire 1 block. At the end of the race, it's awesome because it's just like, I mean, it looks like a friggin' triage center in a you know in a war zone. There's people that are like falling all over, like they're you know this is the only race they do once a year, and they drag out the old shoes once a year to you know dust them off and go do it. And at the end, they're like, oh god, I gotta start running again, you know. And that has been me definitely a handful of times because you're like it's January, like I got so much time, dude. I'm gonna be, and then the end of February, you're like, oh shit. So um, but it just looked, you know, it looked like a great turnout, and it just, you know, as much as I was jealous, I was more happy that it was just it looked like it went off without a hitch, and there was a great turnout, and um, I mean, that's awesome that that kid from Butte is just a total stud, and you know, we talk about this race being about community and oh, Ray, we
Oh,
lost Ray. Um, technical difficulties. I think he should be able to rejoin. Um, see if he texted me. Um, but we talk about it being, you know, about community and about just kind of the history of the race and what it means to everybody. And you know, like that's a huge day for that. I mean, that kid got you know second, I'm assuming. I mean, it's like he's you know 4 foot nothing, 3 foot nothing, and is going to be a total stud. But I guarantee he you know comes back and runs that race every year as a you know, as something that he just loves to do and something that he wants to be a part of. There's Ray. What did he say? Oh, his internet went down. Okay. He might.
he might rejoin us.
We may or may not have Ray for the rest of this one.
It froze on a pretty good image of him. It'd be nice to just bring that back up, but
Um, but yeah, no, I mean it's so cool to see that, you know, we say the Anaconda community, but it really is Western Montana, you know, people as a whole kind of take that as, you know, there used to be a carload of people that would run down from Darby and you know, always a huge group from Butte and good turnout from Bozeman and all that. So it's just it's awesome. It's such a great, you know, such a great feeling. And he's back. Hey,
Hey, sorry, I was laughing at I don't know what happened other than my internet down, but it paused like perfect on both of your guys' faces. So,
well,
anyways,
Hunter was just saying that it stopped on a really great image of you, and we were wishing we could just kind of screen grab that and just put that up for the rest of the meeting.
I bet because there's the same thing with you just starting to like go, hey, like your face and your hands are out, and yeah. So I did it. I mean, this is not podcast related, but did it work still on your end, even though mine went out?
Mhm.
Everything okay, good to know.
Jumped Hunter. It just jumped him to the host. It just kind of goes down the line, I think. So, um,
Good deal.
but sweet. Well, hey, we got through that one. Whew. Uh, but but no, it was so great, like to see you know our group chat and individually and from friends and family and everything. It was just you know it felt like I was pretty much there. I was getting so many pictures and updates and stuff. So I was really really happy to see it go off without a hitch and see it looked like a great turnout. I'm assuming it was, but yeah. So that's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, the
So
last I looked before. Oh shoot.
what's that?
Is there a delay on my end?
Oh, I don't know.
It must be because there's like a 5 second delay on my end. Anyways, I'll keep going. I looked before the race and there's 588 people signed up and online.
Hmm.
And I know that that could probably be a bit more just with in-person stuff. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's around 600 this year.
Yeah, I'll get official numbers. I'll talk to so one of the pipers that I'll see here in the next day or two is really keeps track of all the numbers and is really one of the driving forces behind the race. So I'll talk to him, and for our St. Patty's Day Part 3, we can I can toss that out there and get an exact number, but um, yeah, that's they definitely try to be above that 600 mark always because it's just a good makes for a good crowd too. So, um, but it's good to hear like the community side of it and the racing side of it and all that. How did it end up panning out results wise, and how did that all go?
I think it went good. That the as we talked about Bentley, the 11-year-old, he gave me a run for his money, but I was able to come out with the win, and I'll take it. I don't win many races these days, so any win is a win. And the last time I ran it was in 2019, and I won it. Won it where me and Tristan Gio crossed the line at the exact same time, and happened to give the win to me. I think they flipped a coin. Um, so this was a legitimate win this time.
I think I can confirm that. I think it was a coin flip. I do believe it was a coin flip.
Yeah, good. Another story from the St. Patrick's Day race, but I got both my plaques here. I got my 2019, and then here's my 2024. My the plaque that I got, and I won my age group as well, so I got another plaque for that. So I got two plaques now. So I'm in the select few that are two-time winners. I know Will Flowers, our good friend, he's a two-time winner of the 3 mile, and I think Ray's he's won the 10K at least once, right? Or how many times?
Yeah, once.
Okay, so
Oh, maybe I'll be back up on top next year. I
well,
guess I have to. If Ozzy's there, that'll be a good competition. But
well, Ray ran into his competitor from last year that was from Scotland, Quentin. We had a good conversation with him, but he's a hoot. Ray can tell you a little bit more about that because he talked about last year. Ray was wearing this ice cleats the whole time, and he could hear
Hmm.
ice cleats behind him. And that guy's from Scotland. He comes to Montana every year for a ski trip and this race, and he saw Ray there, and he called Ray some mean things. It was a great exchange, and he's a good person to add to our runner friend group.
yeah, cool dude. I like just everything about him is hilarious. But yeah, I was telling you, I think last week how with my brother-in-law and stuff, right? Like how he ran into the bar and he went on this. Did I tell you this? I thought I briefly shared it. Okay. So I saw him at the starting line before the race. I'm like, oh, I have to go say hi or something. And he's doing a 10K, and I walked up, I hit him on the shoulder. I'm like, I don't know if you remember who I am. I'm Ray. And he's like, oh, it gets worse. Like, and then he looks at my bib because you know how the colors are different if you're doing a 10 out of 5. And he's like, oh, like that. He's like, I might have a chance this year. And the funny thing is, he took second again because he got beat.
Oh,
Like he, I was
no.
like, oh, like you're just destined to be second at this race in Anaconda.
Oh,
But a cool guy. Talked to him for a while after. Now I have I hope he does it again next year and whatnot because I have a photo with him, previously from last year. Now I have one this year. And then I think the three of us with Hunter, maybe. And I thought that's the three of us got in one. But yeah, it was he was a funny dude. Just, like we were talking about after too. Like I was like, I don't know if I should just leave or if I get a second drink. He's like, that sounds like an easy decision to me. Like he's a cool guy. Yeah.
He'd be a fun one to snag and get on for a quick 30 or 45, if he could spare a couple minutes next year. That'd be a really fun one to get his perspective of his arduous journey from Scotland all the way over just to get that damn second place medal every damn year.
Yeah.
I'm sure he tells people on the damn airplane, the person sitting next to him, like, oh, what are you going to, what do you tell him? Oh, I'm going for the race. This year I'll probably win it. I know I'm gonna win it this year.
Yeah. And he
I
was so worked up with like, because he was watching to see when I signed up. Then he was just like, he just kept watching and watching. And that was just like, I think that was like mentally getting that, like, oh, that's a good play. Like, it's a good tactic. I'm going to forever sign up like the last minute at any race from here on out.
Well, you just go the night before. You can do the sign up the night before and not end up in the system until like late. He
Yeah.
probably won't see it, and then he'll just see you
Yes.
off the starting line.
Yeah, I know. Oh, it's funny. Yeah. But
That's
yes, what you asked, back to what you asked, Hunter. I got one from last year, this similar thing. And maybe next year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think overall it was such a good time, and we could talk about what happens after the race forever, because as Ray said, you have a choice. Oh, it looked like he froze again. We might lose him. But
that froze in a good spot. Sorry, Ray.
that's even better than last time. But
I'm gonna take a picture of that for him.
oh, Ray. But yeah, the decision to either keep drinking or go home is a very tough one after the race, because of course you have to have one. So we had a Smithwick's. It's like a red ale. I
Smittick,
Yeah, I had never had one before, and
it's so good.
yeah, Ray bought me one, and it was absolutely delicious. And I was at that point where I was like, I'm either here for the rest of the day or I got to take off now. And I ended up taking off, but yeah, it was. That's probably the best part of the whole day is afterwards. Everybody coming together, and you get that networking with all, friends, family, young competitors, all that. You get the Irish dancers, which is something that a lot of people don't get to see very often. Then you get the awards, and then everybody just hangs out for potentially the whole rest of the day, just networking and hanging out and drinking beer. And so it's such a fun. You kind of have to plan a whole day for that event. Um, but yeah, that's just another one of those things that adds to the value of the St. Patrick's Day race for sure.
So I was gonna ask you too. This is the first year you've been back since the remodel. Um, what did you think of the remodel in there?
Well, for one, I didn't know where I was because I didn't recognize it at all. Like I walked in there and I was like, I may have never been in there. Like I don't know if we
That's
previously
right.
door or like I had no clue. Like you could have dropped me in that building yesterday and then dropped me in the old building today, and I would have had no idea they were the same building. It looks amazing in there. I love the bar. It's a perfect little spot, and it's right next to the starting line, so it's perfect.
Yeah, and now I think about it, it could have been, I don't know if have you ever run the new course?
No, that was my first time running the new course as well.
Yeah, so maybe you might have not even been in the AOH ever. Maybe maybe once, but
Well,
because the old one was just up at the Elks, just a couple blocks away. And so
could be.
that was the year you won it. It's kind of a little bit darker. It's got that, old school vibe in there, big dance floor in the center, up on and in the stage. Yeah.
That's why I didn't recognize. I thought that was the AOH hall, so I was like, that made no sense to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, the AOH hall looks great, but I had never seen it before, so I have no place to judge it.
Yeah. So I would say about tripled the size of the bar, to which everyone said, finally, like didn't understand why it took that long. But I know, so D Motors, there in town, one of the sons, he has a construction company. He did the pour. He did the, I think it's like a polyurethane or a, but he did the pour on the bar top, and all, so all the knots are filled in with like green and all that. And so yeah, the underglow, they have green lights running underneath it. It's kind of tough to see during the day, but um, yeah, I was excited for you to get in there and see it because it's tough to leave. It's hard to get out now. It used to be really easy to go in and get your stuff and kind of sneak out because it was a big hallway almost, and it was easy to kind of sneak your way out. And now it's pretty dang tough to get out of that building unscathed these days. I think last year, talking about post race stuff, I I'm a member of the hall, and so I was like, well, I got to help out in some way or another, and so I was like, oh, I'll bartend. I'll jump in after the race and start bartending and help out. And normally we would be there until you know 2 in the afternoon, something like that, just kind of cleaning stuff up. Everybody would just have a casual beer and then head down to either maybe the Club Moderne or something. Um, and last year was the first year of the remodel, and we put that baby to the test. I was bartending and helping out, and by the end of the night, it was hilarious to see. Everyone was, I think, celebrating the remodel. They were pretty excited about it. So we had some good guys on there. Pretty good rendition of Macho Man ended up coming out with one of the guys that's been holding down the fort for a little bit. He's good stuff. And yeah, kind of a good lead into the week of High Holy Week. So I'm glad you got to see the new bar, and maybe next year we'll stay for more than one. I'll get up there and we'll see what we can get done.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. One of the things that I wanted to touch on, I know we've talked about it, but we need the full story of how the Dickinson State Anaconda connection started, because it didn't start with me, it started with Trey. And that connection it started 2015, 2016.
Yeah, it would have been 2015.
Okay.
Yeah, so we recapped it before we started. We jumped on the Zoom and we do our little recap before we start the episode, and we talked about it. And we did our math on it, and if we're not mistaken, somebody who was attending Dickinson State or was a alum of Dickinson State has placed in the race, has walked away with a medal. We've had somebody from Dickinson State on the leaderboard since 2015. So that was starting with Aiden. And then I was 2016. So Aiden went to Dickinson and Bryce as well, and ended up getting a visit out there. And I was like, there's no way I'm going to North Dakota. Not a chance I'm going to live in that flat state. And, 7 years later, but I digress. So, then 2016, I went home, and, it was a different team in 2016. We were the young guys. I was, freshman, and with Tristan Gio, and but all the guys were, I mean, like Jeffrey had just graduated and moved to Korea. Deli was closer to 30 than he was to 20, that's for sure, and just a lot of guys who'd been holding down the fort on that team for a while, and they were a different recruiting class altogether. Um, and so the next year, 2017, I just kind of like tossed it out to the team one time. I was like, hey, if you guys are interested, like we do, this fun St. Patty's Day race. It'd be a great training run. The course is a blast. It's super quick. And we could just go, you guys could just crash at my house, which is a house I grew up in. My grandma had since moved into that house. And she was like, bring as many people as you want. So, I think that first year we rolled into the house. We had 8 of the guys and 2, I think 2 ladies there too. And so we ended up having 10 people just bust through the door at, all hours of the night. And we're like, we're here, surprise. Um, and I didn't think anyone was going to actually, I didn't think anyone was actually going to do it. And about like, I mean, seriously, I think like a week before, um, I just had a couple of guys pay me, and I like paid my mom, and she registered a handful of guys, and then we got there early enough to register the rest of them the night before, and it was like 3 days before, and I think we had half of that crew, and the other ones were like, screw it, yeah, we'll just do, and everyone just jumped in and we just went, which is very much how we pretty much did everything in college. It was kind of a drag each other along, but um we showed up and we're like, let's see what happens. And I think we went like 1 through 8 that year. And all the AOH guys were giving me crap. They're like, what the hell are you doing, dude? You just bring all these guys back here. Like, we're in full uniform, like doing the whole, they're like, what the hell is that? And we're having a blast. Like, we're just laughing our asses off. And we got to do a fun little, we got to interview with, I think James Rosen is still there at the paper, but and it could have been Kyle too that was doing the sports page at the time, but the whole team kind of gathered around and he would just fire off questions and it was like 30 different people yelling at him from 10 different directions and um, so we got to do this fun. It was just a blast. It was a fun experience. And my grandma went out and bought probably every damn copy of the newspaper that came out because she wanted everybody that was there to have a copy of it. And we had already gone, so I'm distributing newspapers at that point, and the next year, I think it was around Christmas break when we came back from Christmas break, and we were all sitting around, and that was your first year, and we were just sitting around, we were just hanging out. I think all the guys were just hanging out after practice, and Richard, in like the most Richard way, was like, oh dude, I can't wait to go back to Montana for the St. Patty's Day race. And then he just kind of looks at me and he goes, I'm assuming that's still okay. And I'm like, yeah, dude, of course, yeah. And then like pretty soon everybody's like, oh yeah, I'll go. And that kind of just trickled down from there. And then that was your first year where you Tristan still to this day, I mean, don't even ask him about it. Well, it is still a point of contention, but um he got robbed and he firmly believes it. So it was pretty funny. But uh, and there's been years where it's only one guy or one girl that runs it. Sarah held down the fort there too for a while and did her part. But it's just been cool to see. It was such a random and didn't seem like a significant thing, but that when we meet up with the guys, like that's still stuff that we talk about of 8 guys standing around in just their running shorts and bare feet, and we're trying to cook dinner in the kitchen, and it's like 8 freaking guys in the kitchen. And I remember Julia was there at the time, and she was yelling at the rest of us to get the hell out of the way because she was trying to do something very specific, and it was hilarious. And we were like, yeah, we're terrible, we're not helping at all. And so, but it's still one of those things I think that is significant for all the guys to look back on. And I'm happy it turned into what it did, and it's cool to see what it's turning into now, where we still are trying to keep that alive, for the foreseeable future. So there's as I always like to say, a very short story made very long, because that's what I do best. So
One of the things that I think is really important to know is when we first started doing that, my first year, I thought the community probably didn't love the fact that we brought 8 in shape college athletes and just destroyed everybody that one year. I was a little concerned that the community be like, who do these guys think they are? They think they're better than us. But that was not the case at all. That community, for one, embraced us, and we were all family. We had guys from Bakersfield and all over the place, um, and they loved it. They loved the fact that we came to their race and became part of their story, and it was not only an embracement from the community, they expected us to be there every year after that. So this year was funny because I crossed the line and I was talking to the guy from the newspaper, and he was like, "Oh man, there's nobody from Dickinson here this year." And I say, "Hey, I'm from Dickinson. I used to run, and I'm alumni now." And he's like, "The tradition continues."
Yeah.
They was saying they did a little write up in the paper, but I mean, they expected that because since 2015, 2016, we've had people from Dickinson State there. And Sarah Griffiths, one of our good friends, she ran there this year with her dad. And she said on the comment for last week's video that the reason why she went to DSU was because she ran that race and saw the impact that we had on her decision, and so she went to the issue because of that race and what we that tradition we kind of started. So, I mean, there's such a deep connection there. The community loves it. We love it. So it's just you got to go back every year. And people are, my family was like, "Why are you coming back home?" And I'm like, "I'm got to run the St. Patrick's Day race," and they don't get it, but it's like I said, it's a big deal. It's important to us, and so I made the paper. That I think that's the second or third time I made the paper at Anaconda. So I'm absolutely the most famous person in the Dirty 30.
Well, it's funny too because you get like I used to get hounded, dude. Like every time to this day, like I'll go back and the guys, at the hall, we're doing the race meeting. Like the pre-race meeting, we meet like a week before to do like the final check of hey, all the boxes are checked, and that's I say I just show up because I wasn't there, and I'm like, oh, I'll come to the meeting. It's good to see everybody, and they're talking about all the shit they did and all the stuff they set up. I am claiming zero credit for that, man. Those guys bust their ass and they do so much and it shows. Like I'm sure people listening are like, how good is this race really? Like it's dude, it's a regular like you're running in the streets of Anaconda. It doesn't seem like it's going to be anything crazy, but when you show up to a town of, really I think the last census was 10,000 or 9 something or something, but that's counting, when you're really in town, like in that town feel, it's like, it feels more, a lot more compact than that. When you're standing there with 600 plus people and the whole street's blocked off and they have, about two blocks, blocked off, there's so much of it that it's like an energy, it's a feel, and it's just like I was saying to Hunter, like it's hard to leave. It's tough. You do have to budget the whole damn day because it gets away from you super fast. And you meet people. I don't know how many people we've met there that were like, "You guys want to grab a beer?" And we're like, "Yeah, hell yeah," And then the next thing you know, you never met these people in your life, and they're like, "We got to drive back to like Missoula tonight," and it's like 10 p.m. and they're stuck at the Club Moderne, like figuring out how to get home. And um, but yeah, the in those meetings, it was funny. Always somebody from the table, Trey, are the Dickinson guys coming back this year? And I'm like, we don't even go to college anymore. Like we're not even in school anymore. And they're like, well, somebody's gonna be there, right? Like, so it is like it was an expectation, and I think it still is in a lot of ways. Like the paper, dang, there's nobody from Dickinson. I think it's just always funny to think about like all right. Well, we better dust off the shoes and go do it again because I think we'll have hell to pay if we don't show up, and we want to be there anyway. So it's such a funny thing the way it shaped up and what it is now. But yeah, so
I was gonna say even my just random, but like my cousin Lisa, shout out to her. She's not a runner, never really was a runner, but she did the 10K this year. And during the part where it's by the church in the park, but when you're round in there, like I was there and she was on the route there. So like we saw each other, huge high fives, like, yeah, like just this great feeling like you got this. And for her, she PR'd in like a huge time. So that was pretty cool. But yeah, just kind of get back to what you're saying. Like it's interesting too, because for me, anyways, it's like you're from Anaconda, so you know a lot of the people there. And that's just really cool to see like year after year after year of just the same people, and it's just so fun. And kind of circle back to something we said earlier, but like it's like this really like for me anyways, it starts like this time of this year. Like there's something about St. Patrick's Day race. Majority of it, like I said last week, I feel like it's great weather. I know Hunter is like, maybe this was the last time you experienced great weather. But like I feel like it's just this it kicks off such a great time. And it's just that one little day in the sense of like the race. I don't know. I just look forward to it so much. Like I already look forward to it next year, which is so weird because it's I have plenty to look forward to this year. But
Well, and maybe that's what it is too. Just what you said there, I think kind of speaks to it too, is that that day is so much more than that day. Because as a community, we know, oh, Ray froze again. As a community though, we know like I'm getting a picture of that one too. Uh that it is the start of such a big week, and so that it kind of carries some more weight to it, and not in a heavy way, just in a like everything's amplified in the best possible way. Like when you have a PR, it feels like the best PR of your life. When you have a bad day racing, it's like, oh man, let's grab a beer, and like you probably meet somebody that you'll be friends with for the rest of your life. So it is such a, I mean, it's just, yeah, it's so crazy. And I'm laughing now thinking about it, that I'm like, I feel so bad for anyone listening to this podcast now, like last episode, this episode, and definitely next episode. They're gonna be like, yeah, are they still talking about this? And it's like, I'm sorry, like I know we're not, it's easier when you're in person to convey it, but it's like, dude, just skip through these episodes until you go to the race, because once you go to it you'll hear it and be like, oh yes, like, and be stoked about it. And but it's, I'll say that conveniently right at the end, so now that you're all the way here, but
And we always say that if somebody gets something out of these podcasts, great. If not, we just love doing it. We love chatting with each other, talking about running. Like this is
yeah.
our opportunity to connect. Like we should just have a podcast with every runner we know every week and just shoot the shit. It's such a good opportunity. But yeah, we're gonna probably keep talking about it. You guys can listen or not, skip ahead. Once we get past March, we probably will forget about St. Patrick's Day for a couple weeks. But I mean, such a lot to unpack, such a good weekend, and it's not only the kickoff. Um, it's a kickoff to the whole season of running. It's
Right.
get good, and for the collegiate runners, it's right before the outdoor. What's up, Ray?
I feel like if I say something, it's just gonna like cut out. I'm just gonna remain silent. No, that's not a bad one.
So there's that one, and then
Okay, these aren't terrible.
it's just freezing. It's not too bad. Like it's not leaving you with anything too terrible, but
You didn't see me just like, 'cause that's what I was doing behind the scenes, just like throwing my hat and not really. But
No, you didn't miss much. We were just kind of talking, I think getting at right at the end there was talking about how the St. Patrick's Day is such a big kickoff to the entire summer running season because the weather's starting to get good. The collegiate runners are just starting their outdoor track season, so it's a kickoff to the entire summer season. And it, like you and I talked about, like we're so excited to sign up for more races. Like you were telling me about all these races you want to sign up for, Ray, and all this stuff. So it's it kind of gets the juices flowing after potentially a long winter, which this winter was pretty mild, but it still kind of gets us remotivated a little bit, gets us excited. So the moral of that story is sign up for a race, do it. It'll keep you motivated and all that. And with it being a kickoff to the summer season, next episode we're not only probably going to recap St. Patrick's Day again. Next week will be a recap of the 4x40, 4x48 that me and Cole are going to do this weekend. So
that's right.
that will be a lot to unpack as well coming up this weekend.
Oh, I'm excited for that one. I'm really excited to hear about that one, because that's interesting. I think if I wasn't if this weekend wasn't spoken for, it's my favorite weekend of the year, but or favorite day of the year, but 10 days, 20, 30 days of the year. But um I might have found my way to Dickinson or something, but I'm really stoked to hear about that. I'm excited to see how that pans out. And I'd love to have, if we could get Cole on, if he had some free time. He is just a blast to, like, I love talking to him about running, just like the nitty gritty stuff of running, and like the little things that you can tell he just appreciates all of it, Um, so I'm excited to hear all about that.
Basically,
Me?
next week planned out already. So that's amazing. We got something to look forward to already. That's gonna be it's gonna be a unique challenge. We were talking to Ozzy about it, and he said because he did it maybe about this time last year, and I said, "What's your biggest advice?" He said, "Get up and do it." There's just it's like any ultra. He said it's perfect training, but it's all mental. Like the second day when I'm getting up at midnight and 4 a.m., those ones are going to be pretty brutal. But he said just get up and go. So I'll be excited to let you know how that goes. I'm sure I'm going to be a little sore for a few days, getting miles in 48 hours, which will be that'll be pretty intense. So I'm excited for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I expect like live updates. Not really, but it'd be cool to some continuous update as you're doing.
Definitely gonna record quite a bit. I'm gonna probably take the GoPro with on a bunch of them and just make it probably its own little separate video, but then be able to kind of supplement that into next week's podcast. It'll be kind of cool because I'm sure I'll forget what I was feeling after running 4 miles over and over and over again. So it'll be cool to document it along the way. And yeah, I'll definitely keep you updated. The first run will be at midnight tomorrow night. So it's coming right up.
Awesome.
That's
I'm excited.
exciting.
Yeah, I'm
That's
excited for you.
yeah, you'll have to be texting on some of your downtime, shoot some texts over, I mean, to the group chat, and we can send over some words of encouragement, or little bit of something to keep you alive. Oh, Ray, you're frozen. I'm just kidding.
I was just like, no, no,
Not like
don't
this.
don't do that to me.
We have to do is wrap it up now. Just stay with us, Ray. No sudden.
I know. I'm listening.
Ray, you want to wrap it up for us?
Oof. Yeah, I mean, I think, if we learned anything from today's episode, every February, late February, early March, you can expect about 3 weeks straight of this. So no, we really appreciate everybody coming out and listening and watching whatever you're watching this on or listening on. We appreciate it, and like Hunter and I were talking about while Ray was logging back in, for us this is just a great opportunity for runners to connect and talk about a thing that we love. So if there's people that we know that are out there listening and watching and stuff, reach out. We'd love to have people on and talk about some old stories from that stuff too. But we'll be back next week to recap Hunter's big weekend. And I'll also be having a big weekend for completely different reasons. It will be a very different recap. I don't think we might be awake for the same amount of time. I don't think the production level is going to be really low. But I'm going to try and drag Ray out to a few places to hang out for a little bit too. So, for us here at Strike Twice Podcast, we really, really appreciate having this platform to just be able to talk about this old stuff, and signing off over here. So cheers from me, and we're happy. Look forward to next week to break down Hunter's big weekend.
You guys.
See ya.